Hey, welcome to the Explainer. Have you ever said something you thought was perfectly clear, only to find out later that the other person heard something completely different? It's that game of telephone gone wrong. Well, today we're going to dig into why our messages get so lost in translation, and more importantly, how we can actually fix it.
All right, let's kick things off with a classic story. It comes from the Army, and it perfectly shows just how easily a really simple message can go completely off the rails.
So, picture it. You're in the thick of it. A line of soldiers passing a message down the line. The order is critical, it's urgent, and it seems simple enough. Send reinforcements. But somewhere down that line, something gets twisted. That desperate plea for backup, for help, it morphs into this totally bizarre request for pocket change. Send 3 shillings and 6 pence. I mean, what even happened there? This isn't just some funny old war story. This exact kind of mix-up happens all the time. In our meetings, in our emails, on our teams. So why? What is it that causes our messages to get so completely lost? Let's get under the hood and see how this all goes so wrong. To really get why communication breaks down, we first have to understand how it's supposed to work. You can think of it like a machine, a process that powers literally every single interaction we have. Okay, so every time we communicate, we go through 6 steps. It all starts with the sender, right? You have an idea. Then you have to encode it, turn it into words or maybe gestures. That message then travels through a channel, like your voice or an email, to the receiver. They have to decode it, make sense of it, and hopefully understand it. And then, the final crucial step is feedback. That's the response that lets you know if the message landed. A failure at any, and I mean any, of these points can just wreck the whole thing. And here's the kicker. Surrounding this entire process, there's this constant threat called noise. And no, I don't just mean loud sounds. Noise is anything that messes with the message. It could be a distracting office, it could be confusing jargon, or it could even be our own internal biases. It's the static that can corrupt the signal at any step of the way. But here's the part that might actually blow your mind. Most of the meaning we communicate, it isn't even in the words we're using. Yeah, check this out. Research shows that a staggering 55% of how we interpret what someone's saying comes from their body language. Another 38% comes from their tone of voice. So you do the math. That leaves a measly 7% for the actual words. 7%. That's it. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? If a manager is sitting there telling everyone how they're going to practice participative management while literally pounding their fist on the table, what's the real message here? The action completely obliterates the words. It creates what the slide calls a credibility gap, which is a nice way of saying nobody's going to believe a word they say. The channel you pick, how you send your message, is also a huge deal. Talking to someone face-to-face is fast. It's personal, you get that instant feedback. Writing things down, on the other hand, well, that gives you a permanent record, something you can go back to, but you lose all those nonverbal cues. The trick is knowing which tool is right for the job. So, if the process itself is pretty simple, what are the big glitches that cause it to fail over and over again? It turns out there are 3 main culprits, 3 communication killers that we've got to watch out for. First up, we have semantic barriers. This is when the words themselves are the problem. You use a word like merit or responsibility. To you, it means one thing, but to the person listening, it could mean something totally different. These abstract words can be absolute minefields for misunderstanding. Next, we have psychological barriers. And honestly, sometimes the biggest hurdle in communication is just our own brain. Our feelings, our memories, our biases, they all act like filters. And because of these filters, we don't always hear what's being said. We hear what we expect to hear. And finally, there are organizational barriers. Think about a big company. A message starts at the bottom and has to travel up through, 5, 6, 7 levels of management? You can bet that at each level, that message gets tweaked a little, especially if it's bad news. By the time it reaches the CEO's office, it might not even resemble the original message at all. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. We've seen how the communication machine breaks. Now let's get to the good stuff, the user manual.
Here's how to give yourself a serious communication upgrade.
So much of this starts before you even open your mouth. You have to be intentional. What is the real purpose of what you're about to say? Get crystal clear on that idea in your own mind first. Then you can deliver it using simple, direct language that's hard to misinterpret.
And please remember, communication is not a one-way street. It's a connection. Talk to other people. Get their input. Try to frame your message so it actually provides value to them. And for goodness sake, always, always follow up. A simple, "Hey, did that make sense?" can save you a world of trouble.
But if you remember nothing else, remember these two things. First, become a better listener. And I mean, listen to actually understand, not just to wait for your turn to talk. And second, make sure what you do lines up with what you say. This is everything. It's the absolute bedrock of trust.
You know, it's a cliche for a reason. Because it's true. At the end of the day, your words are just sounds if your actions are telling a different story. Everything you do, every single day, is a message you are broadcasting out into the world, whether you mean to or not.
So that really just leaves us with one last big question to think about. If all of your actions are a message, what are they really saying about you?